Hi, welcome back to Far From Eden. Well, you guys know the other day I made that video on hag maxing. Now it was really just a fake article. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I know women don't like to be called hags. Sometimes, well, all the time, the fact of the wall smacking us in the face. Women don't like that. They want to live in the delusion that, the older they get, the better they get. And because their wisdom and their advanced degrees and all these things that are not actually the things that are valuable to a man unless that woman has been with him throughout the years and the wisdom is from raising the children and, surviving life's challenges together. Then those things are valuable to that man. It is not something that men are looking for when they're dating and possibly considering a woman for a relationship. But the delusion is crazy. So when I was looking up this hag maxing thing, trying to see, is it a real thing? Is it a made up thing? What's going on with the human beings out there? What are they doing? Because I still live under a rock, and that's fine. It's kind of have to. The MS kind of is like that. Yeah, you're not gonna be as social as normal human beings. Never have. So I study them as if they are animals in the zoo or in the wild. And turns out this is a huge problem for women because they made these decisions, these women in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s, the gray divorces, right? They've made these decisions to blow up their marriages because they weren't happy, or they claim that it was emotional abuse or verbal abuse or what have you. They have all these claims that, I'm sorry, they're just not true. It's just not the case. It was more than likely that he said, I don't agree with you. I don't think we should do that. Like, he disagreed with you. That's abuse. Or he called you out when you needed to be called out. But women take that as abuse. That's how feminism has trained us. It trains us to look at life through that lens, to where if we're being disagreed with, or the red carpet isn't being rolled out for us, then oh my goodness, how awful. We're being treated so awful because we've been so spoiled. Especially white women have been so spoiled over the generations of being treated in this way, put on this pedestal, that now that we are being treated as equals, meaning as much as expected of us as is expected of a man, especially with the younger generations, Gen Z and some younger millennials, they're like, what? Why would we believe you? Because you're a woman? What are you talking about? I've seen it on cop cam videos with the cops. They're just like, they're treating the woman like it's a person. There's not this pedestal thing. And it's glorious to see for me, because I'm like, oh yeah, you like your equality now, do you? Do you like your equality? Do you like the things you've been voting for? Anyway, they've effed around and they're finding out. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Do these women really know that the predicament they are in is of their own making? And do they know why they make the horrible decision to end their marriages because their marriages are so bad or so, abusive or what have you? Is this the right one? No, sorry, that's not the right one. Where am I? Sorry, I have a layout. I do. That's not it either. Come on. There it is. There it is. Okay, I'm not a real YouTuber. So this lady on TikTok is saying what I have been thinking for a while, because I am of a similar age of these women that are trying to be cougars, and they're cougars because they're desperate, because the men their own age or around their own age do not want them, because the men their own age have been left by one just like you. You're talking to the OG MGTOWs. These ladies, these women are trying to date men their own age, and they don't realize those men that are single, even if they've never heard the syllables MGTOW, they're over it. They know if you've been married and you left your marriage and you're going to say, oh, it was this and it was that. He's like, yeah, my ex-wife says that about me. So they're desperate. So they're going to the younger ones that are just like, whatever. Okay. Anyway, this is what I think is really up. And then we're going to see some videos after this that I think after this context, you'll look at it differently.
70% of divorces that happen over 40 are initiated by women. Okay, why is that? Well, as she loses these hormones, there are so many brain changes that are happening. And because she doesn't understand herself, she thinks it's your problem. She thinks it's her teenage kid's problems. She thinks it's her aging parents' problem. She thinks it's work's problem. She doesn't go, oh, okay, wait, I've got some neurochemical changes going on in my brain that I need to make sure that my lifestyle supports. Since that conversation isn't open, she turns on everybody else. For years, I had so many women that came into my clinic and they said, whatever you do, please help me stay out of my doctor's office. And I was like, why? Because they don't understand me. And when they don't understand me, all they do is give me an antidepressant. And I feel so lost in what I'm supposed to do to help my own brain health, help my own body health. And we start dishing out supplements and prescriptions when there's a lifestyle that women are working against. 70% of divorce.
Exactly. So let me try to smoothly get to my next video. It's my first time sharing TikTok with you guys, but hopefully I've got it. It's true. Biology is true. Now this woman's a little younger, but I
am trying to keep it all together, but I don't know if I can. There are good days and there are bad days. And the bad days just makes me feel like everything is falling apart. And there's nothing I can do about it. And I just want this feeling to go away. I don't want to keep feeling like this. I wish I could just erase this memory. I'm tired. I just want to see my dad. I don't know what to do anymore.
Wait, I just want to see my dad. I'm tired. Well, that's an unfortunate screen grab. Or pause. Like she says, I don't know what to do about it. There's nothing I can do. Yeah, there is. You're going through a divorce. You likely filed for divorce. I don't know her. She likely filed for divorce. So she initiated it. But what do you, and now you're complaining and there's nothing I can do. And I just want to see my dad. Understand, ladies, that I know there are some women that watch. I did learn that after the collaboration with Joker, which is awesome. But they need to understand that, yes, you have a responsibility in your marriage to make it work. To when he's going through a difficult time or he's, being difficult, he might be being difficult. He might be saying harsh words. It doesn't give you the right to just leave. It really doesn't. I know it's like, well, yes, you should. No, you shouldn't. You need to figure out, okay, well, he's going through a tough time. I'm going to be my best and do my best. I'm not going to withdraw, because if I was going through a rough time and I was not being my best self, I wouldn't want him to just take off. people are going to ebb and flow, and depending on life circumstances and stuff. And the whole thing is you're supposed to be locked in, and that's something we're supposed to, you know, always be able to count on, like family. But we don't see the world that way anymore. She's just like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. Well, first of all, you probably shouldn't be driving right now, but also it says at the bottom, which is so funny, participating in this activity could result in you or others getting hurt. Is that filing for divorce, or is that driving while you're this upset?
I just wish this feeling would go away. I wish I could make it stop. Just some way, somehow. Just erase my memory.
Life doesn't work like that. Guess what? I can make it stop because I can do this. Because that's all we needed to hear from her. She doesn't have anything else to contribute. But we're going to see this lady. What does she have to say? My heart is broken, so I can't get over the divorce. 2 years without relationships. I'm alone in this egotistical world, alone with my problems at 39 years old. Well, so is he. Who left him? And what about your children? These women are all feeling sorry for themselves, acting like victims. And they might look, I'm telling you, the one we just saw, there's no way. She's not young. She is going to put herself in a situation that is very bleak, very bleak. I'd be shocked if she didn't have children, because they usually do. And here we are with 50-year-old Emily and what she has to say. Ms. Emily, I am 50 years old. I have been divorced for 5 years. I live alone, no children. Men don't ask me out on dates. Do I look that bad? They don't understand. She thinks if she can kind of pass in the right light for a younger woman, or she looks good for her age, then that'll make a difference. You are that age. This is your future, lady. She's obviously coming on TikTok to get validation. She's looking to get validation. She knows she looks good for her age. She's no doubt been told that time and time again. But that does not make you dating and marriage material. Because shockingly to women, most men are not out there looking for quick hookups. They're really not. Most men are they're dating for a reason. That's the reason they're investing money in dates and this and that. And I don't agree with that, because I don't think that money has anything, there's the train. I don't think that money should have anything to do with dating and relationships. I think whenever you add money to something like the medical system, sorry, windows are open. When you add money to the medical system or things like that, you're just bringing in corruption, because then money becomes the end all be all of it. And that's what women are doing when they're looking to date. That's to extract resources. And there's no the other way around. There's no her adding value. So how do you think that whole marriage is going to go? She's looking for a man to invest resources into her. Why would he do that? Because quick hookup guys definitely aren't looking to her, right? Unless she's going to be a cougar and stuff. She's probably not looking for that. She's probably looking for a relationship, and they're not finding them. They think that they can blow up their marriages at, 35, 40, 45, and even older, and then it'll be fine because that wasn't my person. My person is still out there. I'm going to manifest him. I've got it on my vision board, and I know women are doing this. I know they are. And that brings me to this. Because you guys, they're so desperate, and it's exactly what those few of us women out here in this space have been saying will happen. I think Pearl has a like a new video, maybe even up, kind of about it. Like, what's going to happen to these leftover women? And they weren't even left over. They had, sorry, I'm getting really upset. They had it. They had it. They had a husband. They had, many times they had children. And because they weren't happy, I wasn't fulfilled. I was this. He didn't appreciate me. He worked too much. He didn't help around the house enough. He said words that hurt my feelings. He did things that I assigned meaning to that then hurt my feelings. It sounds like you're hurting your own damn feelings. And you have to understand that this person you're living with is not another woman. Thank God. It's a man, and men communicate differently and they behave differently. And when you're a woman and you assign meaning to something based on your own feelings that you're having or hormones that you're having, you're turning him into a monster in your own mind. And that's what women have done. They have recreated men in their own minds. And what's so funny, and I can hear you guys thinking it right now, you're thinking, but why do they want one then? Why do they, like, they get divorced, but then why isn't there WGTOW, right? Why aren't they going their own way? If men are so bad and they'd rather meet a bear in the forest, then why are they wanting a date at all? No doubt these women that are like, oh my God, where are all the men? La, 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 la. Well, you probably said, I hate men. Men are all dogs. Men are pigs. Men this, men that. Things you would never hear men saying. And that I know I can't say. Sorry, we have flower mutiny. We would never have women, that would never be said about women. On this channel, I know that there are certain things that I can't say. I notice when I say it, YouTube suppresses the video. It doesn't send it out as much. And I know that's why, because there's certain messages they don't want to share because they're part of the state's plan. The state has hold of them in one way or another. I don't exactly know how, but I know it doesn't have Rumble or locals. So you guys might know that of this television show that's been going on forever called The Bachelor, and then the spinoff of The Bachelorette. And it's like there's this group of women and in The Bachelor, and they're all vying for this man. And at the end, he's going to propose to her, and it's ridiculous. It's all these lavish dates and way too much physical stuff, and even some hanky-panky that goes on. And then they have The Bachelorette, and it's all these men vying for this woman. You get it. And at the end, like, if he chooses you, you're not like voted out. It's like getting voted off the island, right? For Survivor. He gives you a rose, and that means you get to move on. It's kind of like a game show. And most of the people that honestly that go on there are people who have agents. They're looking for future television deals and things like that. These are not regular people. You don't have the Bachelorette and she's, 50 pounds overweight and, has short hair. That's not what you have, right? You don't have the Bachelor and he's a short man. You don't have a Bachelor who's even, 5'8" and got a little bit of a spare tire. And, you don't have, and then a receding hairline. You don't have that because they want to put like these ideals and get this in women's head. These shows are for women. These are for women. So we have had more spinoffs, and it was first The Golden Bachelor. And I took note of that because I was like, oh, I see where they're going with this. Uh-oh. And they went with it. And they went to The Golden Bachelorette. So there's a television show. I think it's coming up this season, which would be, I guess now as the season has started. And it's this older lady, and she's got all of these suitors, and they're going to win her as the prize. This article is calling BS on that a little bit. And I think it's so fascinating because they're confessing. They're confessing. Real life golden bachelorettes would like a word. So the real ones, the real golden bachelorettes, they are also, I suppose, could be called hags in the hag maxing scenario, or cougars if they're looking for younger men specifically. This series is selling a fantasy, but straight women in their 60s and 70s say the dating scene is anything but rosy. Really? Really? It's anything but rosy. Well, that's a shock to none of the men. I'm sure the men were like, yeah, because these women, these golden bachelorettes, I highly doubt most of them have been single their whole lives. These are women who have filed for divorce in the past and thought, my next guy is out there. He's out there. And I think they're talking about 60s and 70s. They might as well talk about 40s and 50s too. Because this rings true for that group too, because men are over it. They're over it. They see what you are. They see that you bring no value. You only bring drama. You don't make good mothers. And even if you seem like you do, is it real? Or are you just a good actress? Don't know. Joan Vassos, a charming 61-year-old school administrator and grandmother, will spend weeks in exotic locales sifting through 24 eager suitors, each vying for her affection. So that's the official Golden Bachelorette on the show. And she's a grandmother. Disgusting. It's disgusting. You're disgusting, Joan Vassos. You're disgusting. And even if this channel was bigger, and I'd still say it. You're a grandmother. Have some dignity. But it goes the same if she were a 31-year-old mother. Actually worse, because then the children would be younger than grandkids. Anyway, we've barely gotten through one paragraph. In the real world, however, many women say dating in their golden years is reminiscent of another Hollywood franchise altogether. Did I even say who this is by? I don't even know. I think it's by a woman. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyway. In the real world, however, many women say dating in their golden years is reminiscent of another Hollywood franchise altogether. I would describe it as the romantic geriatric Hunger Games from hell, said Ann Vitiello, a 60-year-old single woman from New York. 60-year-old single woman from New York. Are you divorced? Or are you just so disagreeable, nobody could stand ya? Ms. Vitiello's recent dating history has certainly been full of challenges. Would-be scammers targeting older women are simply a fact of life on dating apps, she said, as are the men who've made her feel like dating a woman in her 60s is an act of generosity. It is. In desperation. And yes, scammers targeting older women. Do you know why they do it? Because it works. Because the women are so desperate. And so, nobody will say this. No one will don't blame the victim. I'm gonna blame the victim. Here I go. These women who are getting scammed by these men who are like 20 years like younger, or the picture is, it's not really them, but some picture is, and they're like, you're so beautiful and you're so interesting and all this stuff. And they're like, 300 pounds and, anyway, and the women are like, oh my gosh, I think I met my true love. That's how egotistical you are. That's how egotistical these women are, and so prideful that they actually think that these men, these handsome men with, these fancy, impressive careers and impressive to these women, and the bank account they claim to have, if only they could get access to it, if only they could get out of Nigeria or wherever they're supposedly trapped by whatever. And these women believe it because they believe all that about themselves. I've been scammed before. I didn't, I guess it wasn't scammed. They've attempted. When I first joined Twitter, I would get like, yes, I'm on Twitter, Far From Eden's on Twitter. I'm just not on there very much. So, because I'm not good at social media and like promoting myself or whatever. So, anyway, when I first got on there, I'd get somebody who would message me, and it would be a guy, and he would like be like, hello, da 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 da. And I thought, oh, maybe this is, from the channel, whatever. So I'd message back, and then this was early days. And then he'd start to tell me, like, and I was like, this is a scammer. And they were always like affiliated with the United States military or something. And I thought to myself, that's so funny, because wherever they're from, must be like, it's something to trust and something to whatever. So I saw the scam, and honestly, the dead giveaway is when they're complimenting you and this and that. And I'm like, what? Because I don't have that thing that these women have, where it's like, oh my gosh, he sees me. He says I'm beautiful. It's like, lady, really? Like, you don't know he's lying? But their pride goeth before the fall. And I know several of you will comment and tell me exactly what verse that is in the Bible. But my mom used to tell it to me a lot. She would remind me a lot when I was a little girl. So, she did a lot of things right, I think. Okay, back to our story. There was the somewhat cranky boyfriend who tried to push her buttons by asking when Miss Bidiello thought Drew, her beloved Maine Coon cat, was likely to die, and the longtime friend who hoped to become her lover, but neglected to mention he was still seeing his girlfriend. I couldn't even follow that. This is like listening to, well, back in the day, listening to like an 11 and 12-year-old girls talk about what happened at school that day. Like, then she said this, and like, what? Somewhat cranky boyfriend who tried to push her buttons by asking when Miss Viatello, Drew, her beloved cat, was likely to die. Oh, he was like, when do you think your cat's gonna die? Well, that's just, I'm an animal person. That's just rude. And he's trying to push my buttons. They were assigning meaning. Okay, but he was still seeing his girlfriend. He neglected to mention. It's exhausting, Miss Bidiello said. It's like panning for gold in a sewer. Who jumped into the sewer, lady? Of course, there is no way to encapsulate the dating experiences of millions of older women in a single season. Still, there is evidence that the dating scene for straight women in their 60s and beyond may be particularly bleak. According to the Pew Research Center, women 50 and older are more likely than younger daters and their male contemporaries to say their online dating experiences have been somewhat or very negative. And more than their male contemporaries, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Real quick. That's because men don't complain. They don't complain. But I know what they whisper. And what they whisper is, if you don't have the 3 6s, you might as well not be on a dating app. You are invisible. And even with some of those, you're invisible. They only look at the top, tippy top of the men. And the rest of them don't get anything. They don't get any kind of attention or likes, just like in the real world. So, but no, the women 50 and older are more likely than young daters and their male contemporaries to say, yeah, the young women are getting all kinds of hits. All kinds. To be a woman on a dating site is like, because the men are trying everybody to get something, but the women don't know that. It's so funny how clueless they are. Oh my goodness. To say their online dating experience have been somewhat or very negative. And in general, older singles are less likely than younger ones to say they're actively looking to date or find love. They're embarrassed, perhaps because they are happy being single or because it is simply not worth the hassle. No, they're embarrassed. The older generations still have a wee bit of shame. So they're not going to say that. They never factor that in to their little polls and research and stuff. Like, people can lie, right? Liberated from old baggage. Really? Erin McMaw Tierno, a licensed clinical social worker whose therapy practice specializes in dating and relationships, said many of the older women she worked with had been through the ringer. Perhaps they had divorced after decades in an unfulfilling marriage or grieved the death of a partner. Usually it's the former, and after decades in an unfulfilling marriage, they've been put through the ringer. I invite them to come and read the comments on this channel. Who's been put through the ringer? Who got the cash and prizes? Who got just because they couldn't manage them and they still were in debt and everything? Who got the kids? Who got custody? Who got blamed? Not the women. Just infuriating. Some were getting to know themselves better and embracing singlehood in the wake of tough life experiences, she added. You know what? I'm sure some stuff has happened that wasn't pleasant. But you know what? That these women do not get. None of these women, not just these golden bachelorettes, but all the women, what they don't understand is that life is tough. You remember on The Princess Bride when the man in black said, "Life is pain, Highness." Yes, it is. That's it. That's the nature of life. Ever since sin entered the world in the garden, when Eve did what she did and tricked Adam and got him to do that, when she stepped out of line and out of her role and disobeyed, ever since then, sin entered the world. It's tough. Tough. There are diseases. People die. People get, people go hungry. All kinds of things. And even in the United States or even the Western world, imagine what people in third world countries who live daily life. Like if you live in Calcutta, India, you imagine when people here in the States complain about their problems? We have absolutely no perspective. And the women especially have no perspective. And I'll tell you what gives somebody perspective. Being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at the age of 22, when you thought you were going to be a horse trainer and, be physical and this, that, and the other, and that was going to be great, and that was your dream and all the rest of it, as misguided as that was, still, when you go, oh, yeah, you're not going to do any of those things like you thought you were. Your life isn't going to look like you thought it was going to look like. And the types of struggles and pain and daily. Now, I understand a lot of people with MS, like, oh, well, I do this and I do fine. Well, mine is aggressive and progressive. So it wasn't like that for me. It wasn't. And so like daily pain, daily struggles, daily real disability. And I'm saying all this to say that I know that these women have no idea about real pain and real adversity and real struggle. And I also know, because my grandmother was in a wheelchair from a broken back in a car accident from the time she was like, I think in her 20s. She was in a wheelchair for over 40 years, absolutely paralyzed from the waist down. And I saw that as a child when we would come and visit, or when she would come and visit us. And I saw the difficulties, daily life difficulties, getting washed up, going to the restroom, going anywhere. If you want to go somewhere and see something, good luck. Good luck with all that, getting in and out of the car. You're just not. It's so hard. And that's not even, that sometimes you actually have pain, even though you're numb. It's like, it was hell. And then there's worse than that. There are quadriplegics. There are children in leukemia wards. There are worse things. It can always be worse. You could have any of these situations and live in Calcutta. And this lack of perspective with these Western women particularly makes them a no-go because they cannot withstand, they cannot endure. You cannot be ride or die when any little bump occurs and you bail. No, you bear down, you hold on, you're like, all right, no matter what, I'm a holder honor. That was a term I came up with the horses. And I was like, there are two types of riders. And every rider, every horse rider, every equestrian knows this. There are two types of riders. When things get rough, are you like, I'm going to hold on no matter what happens? And there are these ones that are just like, I'm bailing. And they almost look like they'd springboard off. And we have the bailers. They bail off. They bail out. It gets rough and they're like, nope. And they're done. And we have very few like ride or die. I'm going to hang on. I'm a hanger oner. I know the terms are terrible, but it's true. And it's what I know the best. So it's where the analogy comes from. We don't have a lot of hanger-oner women that go, all right, well, this is the horse I'm riding, and unless we both fall down, I'm not coming off. If there's anything I can do to hang on, I'm doing it. You literally, you're upside down and you're still hanging on. And I'm one of those. And I wonder if it transfers. I'm gonna have to start doing a little bit of research on this. I'm gonna do a research on this. Anyway. Oh my goodness gracious. Tough life experiences. That's where that tangent started. Women are finding themselves really liberated in a lot of ways from old baggage, says Ms. McMaw Tierno. I love how they're like Ms. so-and-so. Yet many of the clients she sees lament the men they are meeting are not doing the same level of work on themselves. They don't need to. Specifically, many of her clients are better at setting boundaries, she said, and feel a new sense of sexual confidence. Yeah, that's what men want. Oh my God. They are unwilling to settle for relationships that do not excite or fulfill them. Unrealistic standards, anyone? Anne Vitiello, 60, thought she had found her life partner only to see their connection cut tragically short. Oh, okay, that was a little tiny little tidbit there. Okay. I have no idea why it said it right there, whatever. That's true for Catherine Boyle, 61, from Cleveland, who has been divorced twice and has spent a lot of time thinking about the dating experiences of people over 50. She even decided to start a podcast about the topic last year along with a friend. Awesome. Before I forget, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this show with your favorite feminist. Seriously though, share it with anybody you think might be a little receptive to it, might need to hear it. Might be a man who thinks, it's me, it must be me. Nope, it's not. It's chicks. Anyway, so Lola reminds me to ask you guys, and she's got like a little something going on, inflammation or cold or something, and so she's been a little snorty. So if you hear that sound, that's what it is. I think somebody commented in my video yesterday, was that a car? I think it was Lola. Anyway. So this lady just started to talk about it, deciding to start a podcast. She goes to therapy and meditates. At one point, attending a 12-day silent meditation retreat. More and more, she is simply focused on really enjoying and getting the most out of the life that I have, she said. That just means satisfying hedonistic pleasures of the flesh in one way or the other. I'm sorry, I hear silent meditation retreat and all this. And I'm like, this is therapy and meditating. This is worshiping yourself. This is the problem. You don't pour into anyone else. You don't give. You just give to yourself. And you think the whole problem in your whole life, these women think the whole problem in their whole life was that they didn't do that enough. And it's in fact the opposite. Like, lady, that's all you've been doing. That's all you've been trying to do. And that's why you're so unhappy. Continuing on. And having reestablished her financial independence after 2 expensive divorces, she is particularly wary of entangling her finances with anyone again, as she hopes to retire within the next decade or so. Expensive divorces? Were you trying to take his kids from him? Is that why it was expensive? Sorry, that's just what is out there. So that's what I'm going to assume. You're going to assume crap based on baloney. I'm going to assume things based on the facts that I know. The nurse with a purse is a thing that you see a lot online, Ms. Boyle added, referring to a common refrain from older female daters who are reluctant to become caretakers again after having spent years raising children or tending to ailing spouses and parents, tasks that fall disproportionately on women's shoulders. Yeah, well, that's kind of our job. And we used to take good pride in that. And now we're like, ugh, because our attitudes are wrong. The work isn't wrong. The calling isn't wrong. The attitude is wrong. Because we're raised to think, well, you're better than that. And there's so much more in life. You could be seeking all kinds of pleasures for yourself that you didn't earn. Oh, Ms. Vitiello certainly had that experience. Oh, we're back to Ms. Vitiello. Certainly had that experience several years back. A friendly ex suggested he and Ms. Vitiello reconcile after he was diagnosed with cancer. She helped him and spent time with him, but suggested they wait until he was in remission to make any romantic decisions. Oh! Every hair on my body just stood up in anger. Sure enough, he wasn't sure about us once he realized he was going to be okay. Yeah, because if you don't want me when I'm sick, you don't get me when I'm healthy. Sure enough, he wasn't sure about us once he realized he was going to be okay, she said. No, he made that decision right away. You were done as soon as you said, well, let's wait till you're in remission to be romantic. F you, lady. F you. I'm scaring Lola. Please like the video. That will make her feel better. Just kidding. The courage to try again. What about this man? What about this man that had cancer? Okay. The courage to try again. Of course, looking for love as a senior is not all thorns. A few years ago, Ms. Vitiello fell in love for the first time in years with a kind, thoughtful professor who supported her career and whom she pictured herself growing old with, she said. Sounds like he belongs in that Kamala Harris video where they're man enough to vote for Kamala or whatever. I'm like, you sound like I'm in a very bad mood now after that lady rejected the man who was going through cancer treatment. The tragic irony is I kept him a secret for the longest time because I didn't want another failure. Kept him a secret. She said, I didn't want to tell my friends and family about another thing that didn't work out. It's all about what people think. It's all about what people think. That's why removing shame from women has been horrible, because it used to be the thing that kept us in check. Last summer, they were finally getting ready to open up about their relationship and introduce each other to their friends, children, and extended family. But then Ms. Vitiello's boyfriend started losing weight and developed a persistent sore throat. Oh no. It was a very aggressive cancer, she said, and he died on the day after Christmas. And you never wanted to introduce him to your family. You kept him a secret. Were you dating other people while you kept him a secret, ma'am? That's what I'd like to know. Ms. Vitiello said that despite everything she had been through, must have been hard for her, she had not given up on love. Well, thank goodness. I do still believe it can happen again, however, irrationally optimistic that may sound, she said. Yeah, it's called delusional. And I don't feel sorry for you. And some older women are having more fun than ever on the dating scene simply because they have the wisdom to know that what they want, and that might not include a serious relationship. That's a lie. That's all a lie. They have to say that because they cannot say nobody wants these women. I'm not looking to get married, said Tia Maria Smith, a 60-year-old from Harrisburg, PA, who has never been married or had children. Oh, she's never been married or had children. Really? I'm not looking to live with anyone. I'm looking for what I call a pleasure ship, meaning it's about having fun. It's about companionship. Translation: I want attention and I want him to spend money on me, but I don't want any responsibility and I don't want to share anything. I get why you've been single your whole life, and thank God you never had children because you are one that didn't need to. Selfish. Here we go. More about her. In recent years, Miss Smith has dated men as young as 25 and as old as 70. Recently, she has been seeing a 37-year-old. How old is she? 60. Oh, she's one of those hags. Awesome. We're hag maxing. We're hag maxing over here. 37-year-old. She did not necessarily set out to date younger men, though she found the dating pool in her area to be small, particularly as an older Black woman, she said. That's funny. Earlier, we were just talking about only white women. Okay. But while maintaining an open mind about age has helped her find more matches, having clarity about her needs and boundaries, they love that word, and boundaries has helped her avoid much of the disappointment and disillusionment that some older daters experience. I always sort of marched to my own drum, said Ms. Smith, and that tendency has solidified with age. You know, once you hit your 50s, you don't care what other people think. I don't think that lady ever cared what other people think, and I think that's a huge problem. I think when you say, oh, it's so great, I don't care what others think anymore, I don't think that's something to celebrate. I don't think, you know, I think that just means you're hard to get along with, you're disagreeable. I think that's what it means. These women are impossible. And it's obvious what that article clearly said is there's nobody that wants them. If they want to go on a date, they've got to lower their standards and they've got to open it up to all ages and all everything. Like, please somebody want me? I'm begging you. And like, it's all about their boundaries. What do these boundaries mean? It just means I won't tolerate this and I won't this. Those aren't healthy boundaries. Those are unrealistic expectations of another human being. I won't tolerate another person to be imperfect. I won't tolerate them to behave in any way that displeases me. Who are these women? The queen? That's what they act like. Who are you to say, well, I have these boundaries? No, you don't have the right boundaries. There should be a boundary of don't blow up your marriage. Appreciate your marriage. Appreciate your man. You know what? Appreciate the man that you have. You're like, oh, he's not my person. He's not my this and that. Forget that whole idea of a certain person. Yes, he is your person. You know how I know? You're married to him. That's your person. You figure out how to best love that person. You figure out how to appreciate that person. And if you don't, and if you feel like you can't, you figure out how you can. And you stop thinking, well, I just can't and it can't work and I'm unhappy. You can change that with your perspective. It's one of the things I was saying in my interview with Joker on Better Bachelor, is that these women are ungrateful. At the end of it, at the core of it, they are ungrateful. They are unable to appreciate things because they're always wanting more. And their happiness is their responsibility. Somebody got in the comments and was saying, and I did respond back to this on Joker's channel, was saying, no, you don't make yourself happy. All happiness comes from God. And I'm like, well, yeah, I thought that the rest of what I said communicated that. Everything good comes from God. There's a reason that I smile a lot. There's a reason I have a very optimistic outlook. Is it always easy to? No. Does it come from me? No. It comes from God. It comes from knowing He's the creator. It comes from knowing there's a bigger plan. It comes from knowing that even though I have this disease in this life and things have been difficult and, stuff like that, one day when the good Lord calls me home, I will be more than fully restored for all eternity. That's amazing. That's a reason to smile. I have a roof over my head. I have a soft pillow I lay my head down on at night. Lola has been with me. She's 15 years old and she's still with me. I'm grateful for every day. Every day I think of that, like, wow, she's 15. How lucky am I to have this little doggy in my life, that there have been days when I haven't felt like I could get up. I haven't felt like I could, function physically, but I had to, because somebody needed to feed her and somebody needed to take her out. And while over the years, I've had some friends who have helped me do that, there have been other times when it was me and me only. And I'm grateful that she needed me, because that gave me a reason to get up and do things and think outside of myself. And this is why families and real marriages, the real attitude you should have in a marriage is so good for women, because we think outside of ourselves. But all these external options of all these different men and all this attention and all this, it's not good for us. We shouldn't know how rich people live. We shouldn't know when old Hollywood, when that started and it was just movies, there was no television yet, it was just movies, and everybody was glamorous and the jewelry and this. People, how could they have ever seen that before? Unless maybe pictures in a magazine. Think about that. Women had never been able to compare and look at themselves and go, well, I don't have that glamorous dress. Well, I don't have jewelry like that. My life is unacceptable. It's not good for us. And now we literally carry it around in our pocket. And it's constantly making us think of ourselves. And that's not good for us. And it leads to all of this. And these women, these old hags, golden bachelorettes, you're tarnished. You're all tarnished. And you had somebody who would have treasured you. But now you're a hag. You would have been golden if you'd gone with your golden and diamond and all those anniversaries and gone, through all of it. But you bailed. And so now you're a hag. You would have only been golden to that man that was going to love you forever, regardless of, your difficulties and whatever. He was going to stick through it, because men are hanger-oners. Generally speaking, they are. The statistics show it. You can see these men trying to do the happy wife, happy life deal, and it's not good for them. They're not really happy. They're not happy, but they stay. And the women are just selfish, and they don't think about others. They really don't. In fact, they resent it, because all they talk about is women are the primary caregivers. Yeah, well, you should be thinking, I am so lucky that I get to care for the people that I love. And it's all about perspective. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, guys. I love you. Please protect your peace. Protect yourself from these women. And please know it's not you. Don't forget to feed your souls. Nature seems to help with that. If it's playing video games, play your video games. Do what you need to do. Okay? Take care of yourselves. I love you. I'll see you on the next one.